Welcome to the conversation part of the Upper Bowl podcast. We have a friend of the program. He calls college soccer games and college basketball games for ESPN and ESPN Plus. Calls some big time international and national soccer games for the international feed for important games. He also calls college hoops occasionally for the Big Ten Network. I'd like to welcome back to the program our favorite Maryland alumni from the Maryland Terps, our favorite guy from New Jersey, Joe Malfa. Joe, how are we doing? And I got to say, how are you enjoying the Olympic hockey? And also, we haven't had you on. So we got to talk about World Cup and everything.
Yeah.
So you're the cut sheet today. Anyways.
I was going to say, where are we starting here? I mean, first of all, I appreciate the Maryland Terrapin comment, even though basketball is terrible this year. But we're good. Next year's the year. We got big time recruiting class coming in next year. Buzz laid the foundation this year. We'll see how it goes. Favorite New Jerseyan? I like that.
Yes.
And yes, we have a lot of ground to cover, especially you and I were texting back and forth like throughout the World Cup draw and stuff. And it's weird that it's like already only 4 months from now because it still feels far away, but also like it's really close. So when he texted me to come on here, I was like, man, I got to start looking at the bracket because like I got to start understanding the bracket because the 48 teams and like who goes here, who goes where. I still don't fully understand the whole thing.
That's why we're gonna have a callback episode. Like you may have to come back when before the World Cup starts anyway.
Yeah, when we get because coming up a month from now is when like those playoff positions will be finalized and the groups in the bracket will actually be finalized. Right now, like it'll say, Europe playoff A placeholder, right? So we'll have to come back close to the World Cup and actually get an official bracket prediction because I have a very important streak that I have to keep this year. Oh. So my first World Cup that I like remember watching was 2006. I was 8 years old. My first World Cup that I was like actively immersed in was 2010. That was the first time that I remember I was 12 years old, like filling out a bracket on the ESPN bracket predictor, that kind of thing. That year I had Spain. They won it all. 2014, I had Germany over Argentina. I nailed the final specifically and the winner. Mm-hmm. 2018, I was a little bit older then, and I was allowed to actually gamble and not just not just put a bracket down. I had my futures bet was on France. It hit. 2022, my futures bet was on Argentina. It hit. So my 4 cognizant World Cups that I've been able to like really immerse myself in and make predictions, I've nailed. I'm 4 for 4 on the winner. And guess what? I have no clue right now who's going to win this World Cup. So we're going to have to have that drive for 5. We're going to have to do another episode when it gets closer to June, and I'm going to have to try to keep that fifth one or keep the streak going and get to 5. So we'll see.
I got to ask you, since we are both we represent the proud U.S. of A. How big is this for USA Soccer in North America that they're hosting the World Cup?
It's massive. Like that's the part of this that I don't think a lot of people do grasp. Like, I mean, we could spend an hour on this, but like
we could. MLS we plenty of time anyway.
MLS launched obviously after 1994. It was the momentum of '94 that helped get MLS up and running. But even that like had its growing pains, and it took certain owners sort of buoying the other owners financially to like keep MLS alive that first like decade or so. Now here we are in a position where after this World Cup, so May or August of 2027, that's when the calendar shift is happening at MLS, where it's going to go from August to May rather than run as it currently does, which is from February through December. Mm-hmm. In between all that, you've got in the ecosystem, you've got USL that is introducing a promotion relegation system, and that's still a couple years away, but the announcement is now tried to piggyback off of the World Cup. NWSL, it's the women's game, not the men's game, but they're still also going to be able to capitalize on soccer fever this year, and they have their World Cup next summer. So all of this lumped together, it's going to create a lot of momentum, and it should create a pretty significant growth period. It did. The reason I say should is because there's no playbook for this. The only quote unquote playbook is like how things went after 94, but that was for a league that didn't exist yet getting up off the ground and running. If you look at these last 30 years and see how far it's come, and now you look at where it's at, there's no reason to think that MLS can't become a top 5 league in the world over the next few years because of A, the calendar switch, and B, the momentum from this World Cup. I mean, James Rodriguez, a familiar name to everybody, the Colombian star, is in Minnesota. Nobody in their right mind would have ever thought that James Rodriguez would be in Minneapolis, Minnesota playing soccer up until this year, but he signed a short-term deal that has him here until the World Cup. They'll have the option to renew after the World Cup, But even if he's just here for these 4 or 5 months until the World Cup, and then he goes his separate ways, like that's going to be significant for the league and for the club. And there's going to be things like that. There's going to be players who come here because of what they see in the game growing here after the World Cup. Last year with the Club World Cup, there were so many players complimenting the fans, the energy, the excitement. Here's something that's often overlooked. There's a lot of countries that don't pay their players on time. Where here, you know that every week you're getting that paycheck hitting from the MLS team. So it's like there's little things like that where, and now with the calendar switch, where maybe there is a guy who's 27, 28 years old who comes here. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but like there's no reason that that an MLS team can't go get Weston McKennie after this World Cup and really pony up. He's playing at the top of his game right now, scoring every game for Juventus, and he might go on to a bigger club than even Juventus at this point. But like just for an example, like a guy like that who's in his late 20s who could come here and be an absolute star and help the league grow in this period. There's so many different ways it could go. It's exciting to kind of be a part of and immersed in, but really like it could amount to nothing. It could amount to something that is landscape changing. I have no idea. And it's really going to be interesting if you look back on it 10 years from now in the same way that we look back on that 94 World Cup 30 years later.
Definitely. Sure. All right. I got to ask about this calendar switch. Is this good for soccer down in the US?
I think it's great. I think it's great. I mean, like somebody made a graph about with like average temperatures and whatnot. In the old calendar versus the new calendar, and you spend just about, because of the break they're taking in the winter, you're spending just about as much time in cold weather. I mean, look, Cincinnati and Minnesota have home games in these coming up in these couple of weeks. It's still going to be cold. Like,
and Columbus,
it's February, all those teams. I mean, Chicago, Columbus, like New England. It's still cold in February and March when the season starts. It's still cold in November and December when the season ends. So there's enough overlap in cold weather months anyway. A lot of these teams are starting to consider putting a roof on their stadiums to get around that. Even beside that, like MLS in and of itself as an entity will be able to creatively schedule. So, you know, maybe teams like Inter Miami and Houston and Dallas, like all the warm weather climates, maybe they're kind of front loaded with home games in the colder month, or sorry, maybe they're backloaded and backloaded for the first half of the season in like November, December with home games, and then front loaded in the second half of the season with February, March home games. So the temperature's not going to be an issue. You align with the global calendar, you're going to be able to get a lot more players, big time players in. The biggest issue that people kept running into was there was never a right time to bring in a star player and have him hit the ground running. You look at, I think a big reason why Olivier Giroud struggled when he came here with LAFC. He was getting older, but still, like even players of his stature, they still find a way to score. They still find.
I go by the David Beckham when he was like brought in a random like August.
Right. I mean that's the problem. I mean, you put so many of these players, they finish up their season, ends in May. They get bought in the summer window in June. They're plopped right in, and now they're expected to play until December with no off season and never have a chance to let their body rest. And then December comes around, they finally get an off season, and then they're rejuvenated when the new season starts, or vice versa. Maybe they come here in the winter transfer window, and it's just like everything was at a weird time, and it was not conducive to players succeeding, especially immediately. So you're wasting already a season and a half just getting acclimated. That's gone now. There was a reason I think that you saw South American players not have that issue, because the current MLS calendar aligns with the South American calendar, but everywhere else in the world is where MLS is going to. So now South America is going to be the oddball out where they have a different calendar, and maybe they switch theirs. And now we have a full global alignment. But by and large, it's going to be really good, I think, for the game, for MLS, and it needed to happen if you wanted to get those marquee top transfers, because as good as South American soccer is, and we saw it in the Club World Cup with some Brazilian teams making some deep runs, it's still not at the level of the European teams. Collectively, the top Brazilian teams can compete in the Club World Cup, but the depth and overall just sheer volume of the European teams, that's what you want to align with, and it should be very good for getting a lot of these top stars into MLS going forward.
Which is cool anyways. I'll say this. Like my main thing is, like, when I look at it, like they're going to do the calendar switch, like how are they going to compete with NFL football, college football, baseball playoffs, the start of basketball and the NHL? Anyways, like I'm trying to figure out, where do you put yourself on it?
I would argue the opposite. I would argue that right now it's worse than it will be. Because right now, sure, less of the season right now overlaps with those big things you mentioned where, all right, MLS starts this weekend. So from now until the fall, you are either 1A or 1B in some people's minds with, depending on which you're a fan of. Maybe you're somebody who's a hockey and soccer fan and they'll be focused on the playoffs and the stretch run, and then they'll shift to soccer. Or maybe you're a basketball fan, or maybe you're a baseball fan, and MLS and baseball are running concurrently. There's not a lot of like top end competition, but you get to September, and now you have college football is going to take precedence for a lot of people. NFL is going to take precedence for a lot of people. The baseball playoffs are going to take precedence for a lot of people. Oh, by the way, you're now running up into the start of NBA and NHL season, and because the international windows, now you have to have two breaks in the playoffs for international windows, or the stretch run in the playoffs for international windows. When you switch, now MLS will be going up against the NFL for the start of the season and maybe a larger part of the season, whereas now it was just the end. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is the playoff push and the playoffs themselves. And now it's that playoff push and the playoffs themselves that are going to have little to no competition. So it's just a matter of, which way would you rather have it? Would you rather have less competition overall, or would you rather have that competition at the less important time of your calendar and be the focal point at the most important time? I'd choose the latter.
Okay. I was just trying to figure this out as a guy who was like, okay, I got to find these games still anyways. I don't know if they're still on Apple TV or the TV program. I know the owners were not happy about it. I just want to be able to watch it in case, like, okay, I don't want to watch football all the time. I don't want to watch college football. Give me something different to watch on my Saturday night, Yeah. So I just want to be able to accessible to everybody, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's one where I have to plead the fifth based on my employment, but you can take that up with the higher ups where you want to find the game.
Say no more. Say no more. Let's not get Joe Malfa in trouble is the big thing, as we say on this podcast. Let's not get Joe Malfa in trouble. We like having calling games as much as possible. So we got to talk about the World Cup draws. What were your thoughts on the USA grouping? Do we say
the group,
that?
Yeah, the group.
I know there's honestly, a group of death and there's a good group, and I don't know what do we call it?
I don't know that this could have gone better for the US. Australia's a tough team, a team that could bunker in and play for a tie. It's almost similar to what Wales was for the US in the US's first game 4 years ago, which ended up as a tie, but they were able to overcome it. And then Paraguay is a team that they should dispatch pretty easily. And I mean that with no disrespect to Paraguay, but like there's just a gulf right now in terms of quality, in terms of talent. Just taking a peek right now, I've got it in front of me just to kind of illustrate that point. I'm sorry, I have that backwards. Paraguay's the first game, then Australia. See, I got to start getting into it now 4 months out, exactly what lines up where. But you look at that game and the United States comes in at a plus 100 favorite. And then the odds aren't out yet for the second game because obviously that first game, injuries, red cards, things like that can impact it. There's only odds right now for that first game. I'd say they might come in somewhere at like, I don't know, plus 150 for the Australia game. So, but again, like in soccer, that's good because the reason those odds is because you have that third tie option. Like I'm looking at it right now, Brazil-Morocco. Brazil's minus 150 against Morocco. Like if it was win or lose, like other sports, it's going to be a lot higher than that, but you've got the tie option that's in there too. So all that being said, the U.S. should have no trouble against Paraguay in the opening game. It puts them on good footing with 3 points. Then if you're going in that second game against Australia, a team that can play you tight, can tie you, but I think the U.S. should win, fine. You're at 4 points, worst case. You're going into that final game, odds are all you're going to need is 1 point because don't forget with the expansion of 48 teams, it's the top two in each group plus some third place teams. So it's going to be a little bit different. You have more accessibility in terms of getting through because it's not just a round of 16. It's a round of 32 this time. So there's just a lot more. They should get through the group is I guess what I'm trying to say. And there's nobody who they go up against that you say, oh, that team should beat the U.S. Like last time against England, probably on paper said England should beat the U.S. We played to a tie. Yeah. There is not that team this year. And we have the other team is still up for grabs. It's that grouping, that European playoff. The two favorites to come through that group would be Romania or Turkey. And I think Turkey should come through and they are the best team. But like even that'd be kind of a pick-em between the U.S. and Turkey. And that's on match day 3. So who knows what the scenario is. Turkey could have lost their first 2 games and they're out of it. The U.S. could have won their first 2 and they're out. Who knows? On paper, rankings wise, matchup wise, it was about as good of a group as you could have asked for the U.S. I think. There's some people who might get caught up in the world rankings that, from a world rankings perspective, they could have had an easier path, but based on how the draw works and based on style of play, styles making fights, and how they match up with these teams, I don't know that they could have had a much better group than they got.
They can't. They couldn't give an easy road to like the USA Soccer what the USA Hockey was given anyway. So they can't
right.
They really can't have the IHAC or whatever it's called, and the FIFA do the same thing for USA. The people would like, what's going on here? How did the USA get all this money to spend this for FIFA? Anyways, I just want to ask because like people always talk. I was watching the group thing. And I was like, oh shoot. Then I was texting you when I was like, this is good, right? I was like, we'll talk about it anyways. So I was like, I just wanted to make sure because it's like, I know World Cup is coming up around. I want to be able to like at least know what I'm talking about, at least, or be informed anyways, because there's stuff going on anyways.
Yeah, I mean the groupings. It's interesting. Like as you kind of peruse through, maybe there's less groups that are more up for grabs in previous years because you have the extra teams and some easier pathways forward. But like the way they handled it, everything's pretty competitive, and I'm cool with this expansion to 48 teams. A lot of teams, had some awesome moments in qualifying to get here and just seeing the celebration. Like Curacao, man. Curacao was in the World Cup, and like it was awesome, like seeing their fans like just go nuts for it. Same thing with like Uzbekistan. Like you go all down the list, there's a lot of these smaller countries that never had a chance and now are in it. But it also opened the door for bigger countries because the way the map it kind of expanded. So I don't think it's going to feel watered down whatsoever. Sure, there might be the odd 10-0 blowout because of no disrespect, but Cape Verde being in it, or like some smaller nations like that, there might be a 10-0 blowout that didn't exist previously. But by and large, you're going to be getting exactly what you want in a World Cup. And Haiti is in it. Like Haiti plays. I looked at it because I'm trying to see which games I want to go to. I believe Haiti plays Morocco in Atlanta, and like just knowing those two like demographics and the fans of those teams, that stadium is going to be electric. Like I want to see if I can just hop on a quick little Delta flight in the morning, get the game, hop on a quick little Delta flight on the way back. Sponsor me, Delta, please. I use your airline a lot. But like
Upper World Podcast, please. We love all airlines except whenever they cancel Trevor's flights.
That would be like there's going to be so many of those things where like the culture, the atmosphere is just epic.
When you say epic and culture and everything, when matchups, like, do you like how like they chose the cities and stuff? Do you feel like they missed out on a few anyways? Are you mad that like we're both from the Northeast? Do you think people are happy that they want to go to the Meadowlands to watch the MLS, the World Cup final? Do you think there was a better choice? Would you say?
It just depends on how you're deciding it, because like from an aesthetic standpoint, and I say this as a Jets fan who has to go to that stadium fairly often. That stadium is ugly on the outside. And like, there's nothing about that stadium that screams iconic, anything of the sort. To be fair, there's a lot of stadiums in this country that are rather cookie cutter and don't fit that bill, but there's plenty that do fit the bill. Like SoFi is awesome. Jerry World is awesome. Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta is awesome. But all those stadiums I just mentioned, they have structural disadvantages where like they had to take the seats out to like make enough room and lay the grass over it and things like that. So there's logistical challenges. I don't know. I mean, you've probably been there and plenty of people have been there, but if you've never been to Jerry World, there's no infrastructure around that stadium.
No,
just seas of parking lots.
The baseball team as well.
It is seas of parking lots and some stores. There's nothing there. So
and a Walmart.
Yeah. Now you start thinking about all those things and it's like, all right, well, here we are right across the river from New York City. All this infrastructure as far as mass transit, as far as hotels, as far as all these things that you need to host an event like that, it adds up and it makes sense. But again, to your point, like it's not going to look great on TV. Like it's a pretty ugly stadium. It looks like a giant air conditioner. I mean, I'm not in on it. Like it could have been literally anywhere else, and you would have said it was
like
an
aesthetic.
Chicago
upgrade. Would have been so cool at least. Like put it at Soldier Field.
Sure, like there's so many
soccer history.
So many historic venues and places like that. But from a logistical standpoint, and even from a time of day standpoint. Like you needed that to be in the Eastern time zone window versus the Pacific time zone window because of the rest of the world watching it. So like once you factor in all those things, you start narrowing it down. Like the final had to be in the Eastern time zone. Okay. So now you start looking at the stadiums in the Eastern time zone. Which one can hold that capacity? And like like Hard Rock is a really nice place, but no, it cannot hold that infrastructure. We learned that the hard way with the Copa America final in the summer of 2024. Cannot do that. So like you start checking things off the list, and it's like almost by default, like it had to be where it is. There's really no other way around it. So I think that's the thing. I think a lot of people don't realize is a lot of the decisions were kind of made for FIFA and for the organizers based on capacity, based on travel, based on accessibility and hotels and things like that. So
yeah,
ticket prices are a different story. I won no lotteries. The prices are insane, and the tickets are currently not selling, which is good for people like me who are waiting to find them in other capacities. So.
It's not gonna be a violation if I show up to a random World Cup game wearing a USA jersey, right? Or is that a violation? Or
no, probably not. I mean, you're probably good. It depends on who. I mean, like, don't show up to a Mexico game like that.
No,
don't show up to a rivals game like that. But if you showed up to like, I don't know, Uzbekistan and
like whatever's
Jamaica,
in Miami, anyways, we'll be good.
You're fine.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Anyways, I was like, I just don't want to get stuff thrown at me. That's why. So, I know that World Cup is coming up, so we'll definitely have you back on in June. I'm gonna say that for sure.
Done.
We might as well talk about the real thing that's going on right now is Olympic hockey right now.
For sure.
How much have you enjoyed it? And by the way, are you sick and annoyed to buy Peacock to watch the U.S. the hockey team so much?
So I will say I still mooch off my parents' Peacock, so that was good. I'm in.
I had to buy it. Actually,
we were good. I avoided that pitfall. I don't know, man. Like I thought I was gonna get more into it, and I don't know if it's because of like just the way the matchups have been. Aside from like a couple games that are like, what was yesterday's overtime game? I'm blanking. It was
Slovakia,
Switzerland, Czech Republic. Was it? There was an overtime game yesterday.
It was in the morning. It was perfect anyway.
Yeah, like so there's been a couple like competitive games like that, but on the women's side, Canada and the US have dominated. It was fun watching the US Canada game.
Yes.
But everything else has been pretty one-sided. On the men's side, the only games that have been competitive are the games between the teams that don't really have a chance at medaling. Yeah. So like to this point, it's been kind of ho-hum. It's been fun to like see and just getting back to NHL players in the Olympics. But like ask me this question a week from now after we've seen like top tier hockey in the knockout stages and the medal rounds, and I'll probably have a different answer. But so far, it's been kind of bland for me, only just because like it hasn't picked up. Like it hasn't gotten to a point of, oh, Canada's on the ropes. Oh, the US is on the ropes. Oh, like insert team that should win a medal is on the ropes. Like it just hasn't happened yet. So once that picks up, I think my overall appreciation it will pick up. But so far, it's almost felt like spring training for Olympic hockey is the best way to put it. Like I'm going to watch the Mets on Saturday for their first spring training game when it's on SNY, and I'm going to enjoy seeing that the Mets are finally on my TV. But about halfway through that game, I'll be like, I'm kind of over this. I'm like, that's been a lot of the Olympic hockey games for me so far, where it's been like, all right, it's the second period and it's 5-0. I'm over this. You know,
I go by this. Like the only game we had our seat, or was on our edge of our seat, was that USA Denmark game on Saturday.
For a period, and then all of a sudden. Period and a half. And then by the end of the second period, it was 4-1, and then that was it. So
yeah, then 6-3 is your final.
Anyways. Yeah, right. So like there's a level of competition that we haven't tapped into yet that I think we're about to tap into. And I think we're spoiled in a way because last year at the Four Nations face-off, every game was competitive and entertaining and engaging. And it's almost like we subconsciously forgot that, we have to get through kind of the filler group games before we get to that. But we're about to be there now, so I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely. My other thing is, how many people have you known like, why can't they just fight? I was like, they get a game misconduct.
They can.
I've had to pull so many FYIs. Thank you, Ashley Sullivan from NBC Sports Philly. They cannot fight. It's a game misconduct. Like people's like, why can't they? Like, have you had to explain it to many dummies and stuff?
I have not had to explain it to any dummies. I did in a group chat have to be like, hey, just so you know, like, don't expect if and when the U.S. and Canada face off, don't expect what happened at the Four Nations thing last year, where they dropped the gloves twice in 2 seconds to begin the game. That will not happen. That cannot happen. So temper your expectations when we get to those games.
Do you think that's kind of ruined? Like, how do I want to say this? Every casual thing, they're gonna fight every time, because I feel like it's kind of ruined. Like it's like all the casual fans are getting into it. It's like, they're gonna fight again. Do you think that's like kind of ruined it to like for us guys who love the sport?
Maybe, but the other side of that coin, I think, is the casuals that if you're casual to the point that you don't know they can't fight, like you're gonna watch anyway, and at some point realize they can't fight. But at that point, hopefully the game hooked you. So
I hope
it should be fine. It should be fine.
Definitely. My thing with these prelim games, it's like they're just like I call it icing almost, or or cookie dough. It's like half baked almost. Like, all right, this is entertaining, but I'm like 6-1, fine.
Yeah,
cool.
Get me to the knockout games. That's it.
Get me to Tuesday at least when we have like some stakes, because we got like almost all these games are on Peacock except for like the Sweden game anyways. So like that's gonna probably get bumped to Peacock anyways. Is there anyone like when you look at these games where France, Germany, Italy, Switzerland, Denmark, Czechia, and Latvia, Sweden, like do we think this is Sweden's tournament to lose, right?
I mean, it's right. Like it should be, you'd think, but like I don't know, man. Like to the point of like again, like it's just very predictable until you get to like 4 teams left. Like there's maybe a pool of 4 teams that can win a gold medal, and even within that, there's like 2. If you bump it out to like, all right, here's the 6 best teams or whatever you want to make that line of demarcation. Even within that, you're like, all right, there's 2 teams who can win gold. There's a 3rd team who can maybe to the gold medal game, but probably not win the gold medal game. And then there's 3 teams where you just hope to be in the semis, so you hope to have a chance at a bronze. So like within that, there's still a hierarchy.
Who do you expect to be when you look at it by Thursday? Would you say is it USA Sweden, then Canada Finland?
USA Sweden, Canada Finland. I'm pulling it up in front of me, so I'm like looking at it properly.
I'm guessing that's how the bracket would work, anyways.
To my understanding, it is.
Then we'll have the 4 nations.
Yeah. I was just gonna say and it becomes the 4 nations thing. So I guess so. I mean, look, Sweden should beat Latvia. Germany should beat France. Switzerland should beat Italy. Czech Republic, Denmark could actually be, I think, more competitive than people realize.
That's a fun game at 10:30 in the morning. I'll say that.
Yeah. And then if I'm like you said, if I'm looking at the bracket right, it's USA.
It'll be USA Sweden.
Sweden, right? Yeah, USA Sweden. Slovakia gets Germany, and Switzerland gets Finland, and Canada gets Czech Republic. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be.
That's perfect.
It's gonna be Canada, the United States, Sweden, and Finland. I mean, it's probably gonna be chalk, and then within that, it's like Finland and Sweden are probably 3rd and 4th, and flip a coin on the order, and then the U.S. and Canada are 1st and 2nd, and flip a coin on the order. Though I actually take that back. I would put it at, I don't know, 80-20 that Canada beats the U.S. I would be, based on what we've seen so far. It's Canada's just awesome. Like, I'm
nervous already. Awesome. I really do. I already have a bet with a Canadian already.
If you
I need a 96 World Cup phenomenon. Really,
yeah. If you gave me like an array of possibilities and asked me to like assign ranking points to what's most likely, and I guess your 4 main possible outcomes are Canada wins close, USA wins close, Canada blowout, United States blowout. I would put Canada by multiple goals as the most likely outcome. Canada in a close one is the second most likely. US squeaking one out third, and there's a 0% chance the United States wins by multiple goals. Like that's how I would put it. I think the most likely outcome from the hockey we've seen so far, I think the most likely outcome is Canada wins comfortably in a game that turns out to be boring based on our expectations, because like they are that much better right now. Like they are. I mean, from what I've been able to watch, and again, knowing that they're playing different teams, the matchups are different, they are on another level. And there's, especially down the middle, as far as the centers go, the United States cannot compete with the Canadian centers. They scored a goal the other day, if I'm not mistaken. I saw the highlight because I wasn't watching the game at that point when it was a blowout. The scoring on the goal was Crosby to McDavid to McKinnon. I think it was a power play, so they're all on the ice together. It's like, if those 3 are linking up on a goal, good luck. Okay, good luck.
That sounds like a Legia Dome almost. Holy hell.
Come on. I mean, sure, they've got their goaltending question mark, but whatever, man. Like Binnington, we know he can rise to the occasion.
I hate Binnington with a passion right now.
Yeah, I mean, like he is fully capable of rising to the occasion in a big game. I'm sure Hellebuck can also rise to that level, but like we've also seen Hellebuck for the Jets and for the United States also just like
Shit his pants.
Just completely. Yeah, completely. So, who knows? Pound for pound, Canada is a much better team. So,
who do we blame on the roster building of this team? Should we blame Mr. Bill Guerin?
Oh, I don't think anybody gets blamed. I think it's just there's a deeper talent pool for Canada. Like right now, there's stretches of time where maybe the balance of power shifts. Like going back to that 2010 gold medal game, that classic one in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And like in that era, I mean, I think in that era, like I don't remember exactly
Richards,
the roster. Yeah,
Crosby.
You go down the list, and like the gap wasn't crazy between the United States and Canada.
No.
Canada was better, but like slightly. And then there, honestly, like I think that the biggest issue for the U.S. is like there was no Olympic hockey with NHL players for that stretch in 18 and
22
and 22, because like there was a time in there where if you put the roster side by side, you could have made the case that the U.S. had a better roster, but there was no NHL players in the Olympics at that time.
No,
we're at a point in time right now where just the roster for Canada just is light years better than the United States roster, and the top end talent is there. Like the superstars of the game right now are all Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the best way I can sum it up. There's a lot of really good Vinny Trocheks of the world in there for the American players, but like there's one country right now that has the cream of the crop. There's one country right now that has Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid and Macklin Celebrini and so on and so forth.
Oh, he's not American. It's ridiculous, by the way. Celebrini.
Yeah. And it's Canada. Like, so I don't blame anybody for the roster. I don't blame, like, they're just better. Like sometimes they are better. They are a better team with better players and a deeper bench of players that they could have chosen from and had to leave guys on. That's it. And
they left Connor Bedard off, which is even crazier.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my other thing. I think Barstow Jordy and I had a conversation, but I was like, we need to add a Coach Bombay thing right now. Look at some paperwork for Silver to be American almost. We need a Brett Hull moment. How about that anyways? So I just want USA to win. If you like, if there's one thing we all agree on is like, could USA just win something in USA in hockey? It's been since '96, the World Cup of Hockey, when they beat Canada. Like I'm tired of, like, that's the only thing I can I'm literally hanging my visor or my hat on these days anyways.
Yeah.
Like, so, we'll talk about the NHL since they're on the break anyways. Your thoughts on the Rangers and a second letter, by the way. I've not even I get to ask you that, by the way. So.
Yeah. It's funny. I knew you were going to, at some point when you talk about like surprises of the season so far, and like
I want to start off the letter first, and we'll get to the surprise and disappointment.
Yeah, you can honestly like lump them together because like when we did our like season preview, you and I were in agreement. Like this wasn't just me being a Rangers homer about it. Like we thought Sullivan coming in would rejuvenate this team and get them into at least like whether it was a wild card spot or a third in the Metro Division spot, whatever the case was. Like they weren't going to win the division, probably not even come in second in the division, but like they'd be in a playoff spot. We thought Sullivan would rejuvenate them. It went the complete opposite way. He came in, he had his brash style and his way that he commands a room, and I think ultimately, like the Rangers will be better for it 2-3 years down the line. But instead, it seemed like it completely turned off Panarin and had him check out further mentally. It turned off Zibanejad and had him check out further mentally, where the guys who we thought would get a kick in the rear end and step up, stepped back. Yeah. So massive surprise. I don't mind the letter thing. Like, honestly, it worked out the first time for as much flack as it caught, because very shortly after that, they retooled with a bunch of guys who turned out to make it to multiple conference finals, and they just didn't get over the hump. 2022, they were a year too early and ran into a really good Lightning team that was at the end of their crazy run. And then 2024, the real Stanley Cup final was the Panthers and the Rangers, and they had a 2-1 lead in the series, and they blew it. So I was at that game 4 in overtime, and
you had my seats.
Yes, I had your seats. The Rangers could have won that game, and now you're talking about a 3-1 series, and who knows? And I think everybody was of agreement that whoever got through that was beating the Oilers. Now the Panthers got to 3-0 and then almost blew that thing, but that was the real Stanley Cup final, and they lost it. So the first letter worked. Hoping the second one does too. The big question I have is just who is in charge, right? Like, it's obviously seems like Drury and Sullivan have a good working relationship between Team USA and the Rangers. a lot of fans kind of are calling for Drury's head just because
they need somebody.
I mean, they need somebody, right? But at the same token, well, you got somebody. You got Lavi's head on a plate after last year and got Sullivan in. So now why do you need a GM? But who's calling the shots right now? Is Sullivan kind of puppeting Drury? Is Drury still doing his thing and Sullivan's just taking what he's dealt with? I don't think we know the inner workings of that relationship. If it's Sullivan calling the shots, then it doesn't matter who the GM is. It could be Chris Drury. It could be me. It doesn't matter. We're just the GM on paper and Sullivan's calling the shots. So I don't think that matters too much as far as, getting rid of Drury, this and that. The Panarin trade was what it was. I love the prospect we've got from everything I've read about him and seen about him from the Kings. And could people argue, well, how did Drury only get that for Panarin? Well, he was able to dictate where he wanted to go, and he said it was LA or nowhere. So you're completely handcuffed, and you have nothing. You have no leverage in the situation. So there's so many different things that like factor in, and you just kind of have to sit back and hope that that this rebuild works. And I think Drury's fine to lead it because again, he led the rebuild after the first letter, and again, 2 conference finals, and that year in between. The year that they went out and got Patrick Kane and those guys, their playoff run ended early that year, but they also probably should have done better that year. They underachieved and injuries got to them. Otherwise, they very well could have made it. It could have been 3 straight years in the conference finals. So who knows? The letter was what it was. To that other overarching question, they are my biggest surprise of the first half of the season because I did not think it would go this way. I thought Sullivan would have the opposite effect, and maybe that's where we were wrong. Maybe, again, knowing his sort of brash personality, maybe he was going to have to rub some people the wrong way coming in and sort of trim that fat and get rid of those guys in order to now command the locker room and have his guys making up the team. But there's still plenty of young talent on that team and a good nucleus where, as the second letter said, this isn't really a rebuild like it was after the first letter. This is more of a retool and a reworking of the roster. So
I think my biggest surprise was did we call the Panthers? Like how they're going to be?
No, so that was the other one that was crossing my mind. Like we thought that they would still be competitive, and after these guys come back, would be able to sneak in. We both, I think, if I remember correctly, we both thought that they would not make a deep playoff run. Like they would be a first or second round team out.
Trevor needs to sell his ticket. That's the thing we need. We go by.
Yeah, we thought that they would be first or second round and out, but I don't think either of us thought that they wouldn't make the playoffs. And this blew my mind. There were 2 stats in the last week that blew my mind that I guess when you think on it, kind of makes sense. The first one was going back to the Olympics. It didn't dawn on me that the United States has not won gold since the Miracle Team.
Yes.
Since then, at some point, I don't know if it's because of like we all think of 2014 so fondly because of the TJ Oshie moment and stuff like that. But like in my mind, yeah, we didn't medal, right? Like certain things stick out so fondly, but we never medal. So that blew my mind, but actually makes sense in hindsight. And the other one that blew my mind, there is no Stanley Cup champion that has missed the playoffs the following year since the 1970 Canadiens. And they are the
14-15 LA Kings.
No, they made it back.
No, because 13-14 they won the cup. They missed the playoffs 14-15.
I don't believe so.
I think.
Let me see. Hold on. You could be right. 2015 NHL playoffs. We have all the world's information at our fingertips.
I know I'm right about this.
Yep. Sorry. Hold on. I said it wrong. I said it wrong. No team has won back-to-back Stanley Cups and then missed the playoffs.
Okay.
Back-to-back. Sorry. That was the key point of my point. Because I was like, wait a minute. They totally did miss playoffs, right? No team has won back-to-back Stanley Cups and missed the playoffs since the 70s. And before that, you have to go back to the 30s. And so they are about to win back-to-back Stanley Cups and miss the playoffs. That is astonishing to me. It's insane.
It's truly insane. I don't know how people I'm going to ask you this question too. I think me and Vlad have had this question. Do you think Pop's washed?
That's
test questions anyways. We got to ask that anyways.
I would have said Bob was washed 3 years ago and then he found a second gear. Yes. So if you're asking me now, I mean, now he's 3 years older and they made, this is the part that I think people have to, are really overlooking. they've made 3 straight Stanley Cups. That takes a lot out of you. They've only won 2, but they made 3. That's a lot of extra hockey, especially on a goaltender who's in there every night and is asked to do a lot, especially now at his age.
What for great backup goalies he's had, anyways. A tandem. He's got a good backup, anyways. When you look at Alex Line the first year, he had Stolars the second year, and they had Knight was doing well. I was like, when they traded for Seth Jones, like, don't like that idea for the future because you need a good tandem, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of, hey, he could still be the guy on many nights.
Yeah,
but just physically and consistently doing it at the level that he can, I don't know anymore. And especially once you get to the playoffs and everything is more intense, and now you've made it 3 straight years. So, I mean, some of those games, beside the fact that some games go overtime and you're playing literal extra hockey, you put the intensity of a playoff game on your shoulders for 3 straight years, making it to 3 straight Stanley Cups. That's a lot on you stress-wise. That's a lot on you. Those games just take more out of you because you're emptying the tank every night because that could be it. So washed in the sense of, I mean, maybe just physically at this point. At some point, it stops for everybody, and it stops quick. The guy is 37 years old now.
I know,
and coming off those 3 straight playoff runs. So when you say washed, I don't want it to come across as like he sucks now, but like he's old and he's done a lot in the last 3 years, and maybe it's time to, all right, thank you for your services, but that's it. Like it comes to an end, you know. This almost reminds me of like the very end of now Marc-Andre Fleury, where like some point it hit a level where it's like, he can still give you something on a given night, but like he's just not that anymore.
I said about Lundqvist anyways, like kind of reminded me of Lundqvist almost, when it's how I view it. Also, I think the big surprise we got to talk about is the other team in New York, by the way, not the Islanders, the Buffalo Sabres.
Yes.
I feel like I have dunked on the Sabres many of times, and it led to the Flyers falling apart after the nice go ahead and blow me by Tim Saunders of all time, by the way, of a hot mic. That has not gone well for the Flyers ever since that, but the Buffalo Sabres have skyrocketed, I like to say. Can we say it's
came out of nowhere? That was one that I did not at all see coming. Like we talked about some teams that could have a jump. I think we mentioned the Sharks as a team that could have a jump if Celebrini took the next step, and they have. We like the Ducks, I remember, as a dark horse playoff team, and they've been in it. Nobody saw the Sabres coming. Nobody saw that coming. And hey, look, more power to them, because that city and that franchise deserve it. It's a great hockey city, and that team, like, you go back to like the heyday of those like Chris Drury teams and Danny Briere and like that era. Like those teams
you're giving me nightmares already.
Those teams were fun, man. Like Ryan Miller backstopping the whole thing. Like those teams, that was a good era of hockey, and that arena was rocking. Those fans were fun. It'd be nice if they can be anything but a laughing stock. To be honest, I still don't think they're gonna make playoffs.
Okay,
but they're fun. You know what? Yeah. They're fun.
They are fun anyways. It reminds me of like when you remind me of Danny Bird and Christopher, like you just got me back to the dark place of Robert Esch could not stop a effing puck.
I mean, playoff wise, like, all right, right now they're sitting in a wild card spot, but the teams that are beneath them that I think will come charging. Like, I also think the Bruins could sort of fall back a little bit. Like they're a team they're a team that they wanted to tear down. What will they do with the trade deadline? Will they stand pat? Will they fade? I don't know. But the Capitals will come charging for the Sabres. They're 5 points back. The Maple Leafs will come charging. They're 7 points back. The Panthers, I am not counting them out yet. They're 9 points back. So yeah, I mean, like there's still plenty of teams around them that I think can pull it off. And I just, in the same way that those teams that I mentioned, I give the benefit of the doubt of thinking they have a surge in them. I'm just like waiting for the other shoe to drop, where I think that the Sabres have a drought in them. And all of a sudden it could be, 3 weeks after the Olympic restart, we could be talking about them clinging on for dear life, right? So I hope they make it. I hope those fans be selling.
That's the other thing, is the deadline is coming.
Right. So who knows? So I would still go against them. Another big surprise, speaking of, you said another New York team, but another team in that metro area, with the start that the Devils had back in November, where everybody was gaga over them and they were winning.
Flyers, Devils, here we come. We were saying, by the way.
My goodness. And now they are basically as bad as the Rangers. So that one really bottomed out really quickly.
I think the other one we got to talk about is Toronto's horrendous start, by the way.
Right, and it's to that point, like horrendous start, but I think they can overcome it. I think they have the pieces and the ability to overcome it. And like that team, the Capitals are going to buy, I think, at the deadline. Yep. Those teams are why I think the Sabres do fall out ultimately. But it's going to be fun. Like, buckle up. I mean, to give these teams a couple of weeks off to regather, think about their strategies going forward, trade deadline wise, and then have a 25 game sprint to the finish. Like, it's going to be fun.
I was kind of right about the Detroit Red Wings, by the way.
Yes.
I like to say that people have not given.
Pat yourself on the back. Pat yourself on the back for that one.
I know that's the one I always got to pat myself on the back. Also, I don't know if you paid attention to what's going on with the Flyers and Rick Tocchet and Matt.
It's been off my radar.
Okay, it's been truly entertaining because people say he didn't show up to camp in shape. He's been not showing up to treatment and Tocchet was like blasting him on like 2 podcasts and stuff.
Oh god.
I think it's truly the most entertaining thing. Shout out to Kevin Kurz, who does a great journalism, by the way. I know Flyer fans are dunking on him. I will not dunk on him because I think he's a great journalist. That's why. So he's actually reporting the news and he's telling stuff what needs to come out anyways. So, but I will say this. I think I had my fun 2 weeks of when the Flyers beat the Panthers a couple times anyway. that was my Stanley Cup. I was like, yes.
There you go.
That's right. What's been the biggest thing about the West? I think it's the most fun. I think that Central Division is the most fun division of all time, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was one thing that we did say, again, going back to that preseason preview. Like, we had no idea out there. And that has still held true. And I think we've been in this kind of, for a few years now, we've been in this sort of same loop where you kind of know who's coming out of the East.
Yep.
You don't know who's coming out of the West.
Which I like.
You know even less who's coming out of the Central. Forget just the West. Like that's been like a consistent year in, year out thing for now, like 4 or 5 years, something like that.
Yeah, it's like either you count on Dallas for a new head coach. Colorado's having the greatest season of all time, which is the craziest thing of all time. Those two will meet up in the second round of the playoffs anyways. Or it could be Minnesota could find a way, honestly, to be the number 1 seed.
Oh, yeah.
With Quinn. I will say this. Quinn Hughes and with Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Boldy, that is like my other like team I like to watch because it's like fun running gun hockey. I just love.
And that usually doesn't work out in the playoffs against those teams you mentioned, but it's fun right now.
So. It's fun right now, anyways. I always say this. I think the best game that's coming up in the March area is when the Panthers play the Wild. Because I want to say everyone's like, why? Kirill Kaprizov.
Bet the over. Bet the over.
Bet the over. Just bet that Trevor's not making highlights that day anyway. So, I think the other thing we got to talk about is Ducks. They were entertaining for a little bit. They fell off the map and they're somewhat holding on. Do you think they can hold on? You think at all or no?
Again, it's with how deep and kind of like I guess uncertain. I guess the best way to put it is the West is. I don't know. They were a fun surprise early. They were one that you and I kind of saw coming. They might have peaked early, and now it's just kind of a slow downswing. But it gives Ducks fans or people who are interested in that team hope for next year where, hey, if this was year 1 of this new era, like we can diagnose what went wrong after that good start. We can start filling in the roster where it needs to be filled in a little bit better. And now next year you're talking about a team that like can contend. So it's a good start in that regard.
All right, trade deadline is March 7th, by the way. What team's which one team is gonna get cannibalized the most?
Oof. See, I want to say the Rangers just because the Rangers want to sell in that regard. But it just becomes, look, if they're in full sell mode, the Rangers are the answer to that question because you start going down the list. There's a team that would probably assuredly want Zibanejad. There's a team that would possibly want Trocheck if you're going that regard as well and you're just trying to get younger. You go to the back end. There's a team right now that probably needs Johnny Quick, who's gotten to have a really good run of playing time with Shesterkin's injury. So there will be a lot of teams that come after important pieces on the Rangers. Just depends on, again, are they rebuilding or retooling? Because if you're retooling, maybe you want Trocheck to stay there with JT Miller and kind of be that new core for you. But then he's a little bit older too. So if there's a team who's dangling something in front of you, you're going to take it. I don't know that the Devils have a lot that I think would get rated. And also they are kind of a fluke right now where I think they should have been better than they are, and they stand pat and they're ready to run next year. But then after that, no, Canucks aren't really good.
No.
So there's not, they would be in sell mode, but there's not necessarily a lot that people would want from them.
Mm-hmm.
Calgary has some nice pieces and middle six type pieces on good teams, but do they pull the ripcord yet? Because they're only 9-10 points back of a wild card spot. So do they think they can get back in? It's when you ask that question the way you did, you have to weigh the level of talent that the team has and what are they actually going to do? Because there's only about a week and a half until the deadline. So they're not going to be able to say, all right, let's see how we do over the next 10 games and then reassess. That's not going to happen. They're going to play 3-4 games before that deadline comes up. So it just depends in these teams' mind, their self-scout, the level of realism they bring to the assessment of the rest of their season, who actually does and doesn't sell. I think the only team that has made it clear they're selling is the Rangers. And it's very clear that they have talented pieces that you can pony up or you can offer up and get. This year, I'm going to get on my thing about the Rangers. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Sullivan coming in, what it was supposed to be, they're 16-14-2 on the road, but they're 6-15-4 at home. Even if they were an average 500 team at home, they'd be a playoff team right now. So it just doesn't make any sense. The talent's there, the pieces are there, and they've already said that they intend to sell. So to answer your question the way you phrased it, the Rangers should get cannibalized the most.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. Anyways, I was trying to figure out on the Rangers. Anyways, thoughts on the 2 outdoor games in Florida? Do we both?
Oh my God!
Did you go to the one in Miami or no?
I was still home in the Northeast for the holidays at that point. It looked like an awesome spectacle. Crowd was into it. And as nice as that was, the Tampa game was awesome. And I know people who were at that game. The ice looked fantastic. Everything around the ice looked fantastic. The layout of the stadium, the crowd was buzzing. That game was awesome. The fights, the goals, everything was awesome about that game. You had Gary Bettman somehow work it out with Mother Nature to send a 32-degree cold front into Tampa Bay. What? Come on. What? That you could not have scripted that any better. My favorite thing that came out of that whole weekend was they paid all this money to have this whole system to cool down the ice, anticipating temperatures in the 60s to 80s. But then they actually had to heat the ice because it got too cold in the atmosphere. So they had to actually heat the ice to keep it from cracking. Who would have thought they would have needed the heater on the ice in Tampa Bay, Florida in January for an outdoor game instead of the cooling aspect of it? It made no sense.
One of them made no sense. I had to make sure my heater worked for the first time. I've lived in this place for 4 years. I think I've used it twice before.
Oh, good. It worked.
It worked anyway. It's a trick. I'm going to tell this anyway. Pro tip, especially for you. Open up all the windows, let the heater go on. That's how you do it. That's how you get rid of the burning smell anyways.
You got to push through that burning smell. Your house is not going to burn down. It's just normal.
I know. So people were asking me, how do you do it? I did this in December because I had to work the Cotton Bowl anyway. So that's why. All right, Joe, I kept you way too long. I don't want your wife to get mad at me. What games are you calling this week? Why should what should we tune into, by the way?
So coming up now, we've got, let's see, this weekend on Saturday. Yes, Saturday I am in Wichita for Wichita State Temple College Hoops. I don't believe that has been decided yet, the network. I think it was an ESPN2 or ESPNU Flex. I did look at the slated games coming up. I'm gonna guess it's on ESPNU. There were a couple of games that I think that were in the pool that I think make more sense to be ESPN2 games. So I'm gonna guess that my Saturday 6 p.m. Eastern is an ESPNU vehicle. Then next week. So this is in market here for some of your Floridian listeners that tap into you. I've got FAU.
We have a few anyway, so I think we're fine.
I've got FAU on Thursday night. That is FAU against Temple. That one is an ESPN2 game. So those are my next 2 basketball games coming up. And then soccer starts in early March. So here we go. We are on the precipice of it all starting again.
Definitely, for sure. Joe Malfa will talk in We'll talk a few other times. How about that?
Yeah, oh yeah, we'll talk a few other, but yeah, May, June, I gotta get that. I'm telling you, drive for 5. I'm 4 for 4. I'm perfect at picking a World Cup winner in my lifetime. I am not confident that I'm going to be able to do it again and replicate that success this time around because I have no godly idea right now. Yeah, I'm between France and Spain, which is not really going out on a limb. But in case you look at World Cup history, you usually don't have to go out on a limb or be too cute about it. There's only a few countries that have won a World Cup, so you don't have to be. It's not March Madness, okay? You don't have to think of this 8 seed that you want to have in your Final Four or winning the whole damn thing. It's usually one of Brazil, Germany, France, Spain. Like there's a select few teams that can Argentina. There's a select few teams that are really in the mix. I got to figure that out. I need to be 5 for 5 just for my personal resume. Like I need to be 5 for 5.
It's like the Upper Bowl podcast trying to figure out the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We were 3 for 4 the year before. This year we were 3 for 5 anyway.
Hey, all right. That's not bad.
So we try here.